right, joining us now to tell us more about the South Korean defense minister's trip to Poland is military expert and correspondent for Breaking Defense, Reuben F. Johnson. Sir, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank
All
you for
right.
having me, sir.
Yeah, let's start with the most recent news. Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz said on Thursday, after meeting with his Korean counterpart, that further contracts for military equipment from South Korea are likely to be signed at a trade fair in Kielce later on in September. Now, what can we expect in September, and can we expect more production to occur in Poland?
Well, first of all, the show called MSPO is the acronym in Kielce. By the way, it's the third largest defense show in all of Europe now. It's quite impressive and quite large. But what we can expect are more signings, and this is because there is a rule of thumb in the defense industry community, which is that you sign deals at these very big events because that way you maximize the publicity. But these contracts have been underway under negotiation for a very long time, with a lot of people working very hard to bring them to fruition. And this is a big plus for Poland and a big plus for South Korean industry.
It certainly is a big plus for South Korean industry. But yet my question here is, what does Poland get? Obviously, besides all the hardware, is there any bonus for Poland here?
Well, there's two big bonuses for Poland. Number one, the South Koreans were able to offer delivery of hardware much sooner than any other providers. As a matter of fact, for example, the FA-50 fighter aircraft, 12 of the aircraft being purchased are going to come almost immediately because the South Korean Air Force was willing to give up delivery slots and have those aircraft sent to Poland instead. And secondly, Poland will get local industrial participation from South Korea to a degree that's probably greater than that of any European or U.S. company would be able to offer.
Well, there
So
you
those
go.
are two big pluses.
Exactly, those are huge pluses for Poland. But now let's look at the West. In the West, there have been murmurs, constant murmurs, asking the question: well, why is Poland doing business with South Korea rather than with European suppliers? Now, first of all, indeed, why? I think you answered that question. I think it's because South Korea was able to deliver. The Europeans really aren't able to deliver whatever we order right now. But the second question is, is it even appropriate for the Europeans to be murmuring like this?
Well, the previous United States president, Donald Trump, tried to tell European countries they needed to be spending more on defense. He said, the U.S. is carrying too much of the NATO burden. And instead of listening to him, there was lots of wailing and moaning that he was trying to destroy NATO. No, he was trying to get European countries to get back in the business of defending themselves, because they've been going out of the business of defending themselves for more than 2 decades. So it's really it's their own. They only have themselves to blame. I'm sorry, I'm not being very coherent at the moment. They only have themselves to blame for this. So.
Yeah, unfortunately so. It's true, but they're trying to blame Poland, and I mean that's what people do, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, this. I mean, when I say the Europeans have been going out of the business of defending themselves, Poland is the notable exception. Poland's has been doing more than most other countries in Europe combined, and it's extremely admirable, but understandable given your proximity to Russia. But the fact remains, there's too many European weapon systems that are almost a boutique type of prospect. There's not like a production line that you would think of in real industrial terms.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, and now let's talk about Poland's. Poland's been extremely proactive in making the kinds of in the kind of spending that's necessary to be able to protect its eastern border. But its eastern border is also the eastern border of the European Union. It's also the eastern flank of NATO. Now, should Poland be footing all the bills for all of these purchases? Shouldn't Europe be a bit more involved in these purchases?
Well, maybe not involved in the purchases, but I think it would be appropriate for Europe to offer more support, offering troops for support services, to be basing troops in Poland the way the United States is now, to lift some of the burden on Poland, the expense for Poland. It's Poland's become such an important country. I would call it almost the linchpin of NATO at this point because of its proximity to Russia, because of everything it's doing to help Ukraine. Ukraine wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for Polish assistance. So yes, European countries ought to be doing everything they can to support you.
All right. So this, of course, in terms of conventional hardware, but there's also another element to these meetings that took place last week, and that is the element of border security. The South Koreans also have a lot of high tech that they use to secure their border with the North. Poland is very interested in a lot of that tech. Do you think that tech should be purchased just by Poland, or perhaps the European Union as a whole and Frontex could be involved in some of this?
The technology, to me, is not the issue here. South Korea has all of this wonderful border control equipment and experience because it's a hard border. No one's going to cross that border, period. I mean, it's one of the most militarized places on earth. So the question is that politically palatable in the EU? Could you have a border between Poland and Belarus that is like the one between North and South Korea with multiple layers, including layers of landmines? I mean, I don't know if that's politically possible.
All right. Well, we'll have a chance to discuss this a bit further, hopefully in September. We'll see what happens in September. Hopefully a lot of good things will come out of that, and a lot of opportunities for Polish workers as well. But, sir, pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
I hope to see you in Kielce.
Of course. That was Reuben F. Johnson, military expert and correspondent for Breaking Defense.